I'm Dead, Now What? I'm Dead, Now What is a must-read that chronicles the experience of laying a loved one to rest in Jamaica. I'm Dead, Now What is a true life experience of the ups and downs of coordinating a funeral. It tells of the drama, the stress, money worries, and all the unexpected that rises when a person dies. I'm Dead, Now What is a great combination of storytelling and advice. It is humorous, witty, and helpful. Get your copy of I'm Dead Now What today at Amazon.com, CreateSpace.com, and www.IamDeadNowWhat.com. Join the author, Wayne Hall, as he navigates the inevitable aspect of life. I'm Dead Now What is also available on Kindle and in French.
That's right. So here we go again, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to introduce my guest this evening. And Senator, the Honorable Kamina Johnson-Smith has been an attorney at law for close to 20 years, having worked both in private practice and as a corporate in-house counsel. On 7th of March 2016, she was appointed Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade of Jamaica, the first woman to hold the post and the first to be born after her country's independence. Senator Johnson-Smith was concurrently appointed Leader of Government Business in the Senate and Chair of various Senate committees. As Jamaica's Foreign Minister, she has represented her country at numerous bilateral, regional, hemispheric, and international fora in Africa, the Americas, Asia, the Caribbean, and Europe. As Leader of Government Business in the Senate, she supports the government's legislative agenda by piloting bills and leading debates across all portfolios. Senator Johnson-Smith holds a Master of Laws in Commercial Law from the London School of Economics and Political Science, a Bachelor of Laws from the University of the West Indies, Cave Hill, and a Bachelor of Arts in French from the University of the West Indies, Mona. She's also a graduate of the Norman Manley Law School, where she was valedictorian and the recipient of awards in legal remedies and advocacy. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to bring to you Senator the Honorable Kamina Johnson-Smith. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening. Good evening to you and your listeners. Thanks for having me.
It is truly a pleasure to have you, and welcome to the Wayne Hall Show. How's your day? We everybody talks about the hump day. How was your day?
It's been a long day, and it's not over yet.
I know, because here we are, ready to get into some serious issues. And ladies and gentlemen, if you're a regular listener of the Wayne Hall Show, we do touch on important, developments in the diaspora. And tonight we want to just focus on the upcoming elections. But in a general way, I want to start on a happy note. I know you're probably still celebrating from that Wall Street experience, a week or so ago?
Yes, I mean, what great news. What great news.
Yeah, I mean, just from your vantage point, I mean, how is Jamaica taking this? How is the atmosphere?
Well, it's fantastic. It's something to celebrate, because when you know that your stock exchange is doing well here, people feel it. We see the vibrancy. We know that after Wigton, after that IPO, which was the first public IPO of its size, I mean, it was 4 times any private sector IPO that had gone before, and it really managed to percolate down to the unusual investor, the ordinary Jamaican that might not have thought about, if they happened to have $10,000, would they think about putting it on the stock exchange? And we absolutely were oversubscribed. And it has changed the whole perception of how you can create wealth as an individual and with your family. So having this absolutely amazing energy around the stock exchange also reflected at the international level, where our stock exchange is recognized again as not the top 2, top 5, top 10, but the best performing stock exchange in the world, is an absolute, it just helps to add a positive sense of what is possible, not only at the individual level, but at the country level, and how big Jamaica plays beyond its size.
Absolutely well said. We play way much bigger than our size. Yes, little but with Talawa. All right.
Yes.
So
I saw somebody tweet the other day that Jamaica's global footprint is bigger than our actual footprint.
I know.
Saying, it's a nice way to think about it, and it's true.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Now, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade holds the wonderful duty of overseeing events in the diaspora and developments within the diaspora. So, managing Jamaican affairs outside its borders, I could sum it up. Mm-hmm. And it might sound daunting, considering so much, on hand locally. But tell us, briefly explain how the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade and the diaspora, why there's an important connection between your office and the diaspora.
Well, Jamaica's foreign policy is really about enhancing our national development goals through bilateral, regional, hemispheric, and multilateral relations, and playing our role as a good global citizen. That's the most succinct way that I can say it. And when I extend beyond that and say that in order to achieve these goals, or what we consider to be absolutely an important part of achieving these goals, is the role of our diaspora. It's been many years now that Jamaica has recognized that our diaspora, our ability to connect with, engage with, and yes, even leverage the power of, harness the power of our diaspora, as well as the importance of supporting our diaspora where they live. That these have been philosophies that are recognized as an important part of our foreign policy. But it's become even more enhanced, I would say, in recent years. And which this is why it is that we've moved towards implementing a national diaspora policy. As you may know, the draft was endorsed at the 8th Diaspora Conference in June, and we're now getting ready to submit it to Cabinet for its approval. We're waiting for the last two ministries to give us their final sign-off, which is really just an administrative part of all policies that go to Cabinet, and then for its tabling in Parliament, where we hope to be able to take it forward from there in a simple process to make it a policy ready for definition now of our action plans and project implementations under that policy. Part of that policy.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry,
no.
Don't let me.
Go ahead.
No, I'm saying part of that policy, when I became minister, I had inherited a draft policy.
Right.
But what happened immediately thereafter? So it had been through some consultations, but it was felt that it needed more. It needed more not only because we wanted to talk more, but we had development. For example, we had the international migration policy or national migration policy that had been passed.
Right.
We've also had the Sustainable Development Goals, which set a global agenda with 17 goals, which are 93% aligned with our national development goal, but also along which all international organizations tend to be guided now, and through which most projects are now aligned. So it was felt that if we did not situate our policy or align it with these goals, we would be going counter to the way the entire world and Jamaica is going. So we sought to align that, and we sought to build in a sort of a broader possibility for institutional sustainability. And this is where the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council and the Global Jamaica Youth Diaspora Council come in. What we have now institutionally, is the Diaspora Advisory Board. This is the means by which the diaspora can contribute to policy development in Jamaica by advising the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, who is the minister responsible for diaspora affairs. And right now, they're expected to advise the minister, me for now, but this they have done since 2004. So they've advised several ministers before me, and there will continue to be a mechanism for that. And in so doing, they're expected, of course, to consult with their communities in order to ensure that they are giving positions and concerns that are reflective of the views of their communities. This, however, is grounded in our three most mature diaspora locations, USA, UK, and Canada. And this is wonderful. One of the decisions that we took last year was to expand the body to allow for more youth representatives on it. So we expanded the body to 14 persons because we increased the number of youth representatives that would be on the board as well. 18 to 35 is an important demographic, and important not only for their views, but for the sustainability of the movement.
Long term.
So this was key for me, and I was very, very pleased that the Diaspora Advisory Board was totally committed to this expansion. It was implemented last year. The next aspect that came up was this recognition that we have always recognized that you cannot go to any country in this world and not find a Jamaican. So every region in this world, we have Jamaicans, and not only individuals, but we actually have groupings who are organizing themselves and who are trying to find ways to connect with Jamaica. So part of the feedback that had been coming to us is that only having a mechanism that relates to the mature diaspora locations is not allowing us to expand and deepen diaspora engagement. So we had to put our minds to what kind of framework would allow us to reach out and allow allow Jamaicans in other regions to connect in an institutional way, so systemic, not based on the individual. It will have continuity and sustainability, and allow them to be able to learn from the more mature areas so that they too can develop sustainable diaspora movements within their areas. So we're adding Africa, Asia and the Pacific, Europe, not including the UK, but not because of Brexit, because the UK is there already. We are including the Middle East, and we're including Latin America and the Caribbean, because we have Jamaicans in all of these areas.
Yes.
I mean, Costa Rica and Colombia, they speak, there are areas that speak Spanish with a Jamaican accent, and if they speak English, they sound like they're talking patois, because the ancestral link is so strong. So we wanted to have a mechanism that would allow all of us to sit around the table to not only share perspectives, learn from each other about how to grow, but also increase the number of hands at the table to do the work, which is why, in addition to the location representation that's being added, we're also adding some subject area experts. So there are areas that are key to the diaspora. They're always close to their heart. We have the issue of citizen security, education, health and wellness, and we're expanding arts, culture and sports, commerce, absolutely necessary, and developmental issues. So we can have expertise, because remember, when you're selected, we have general areas of eligibility that are required, that everybody on the board must comply with them. You must be, a Jamaican or Jamaican heritage. You must be over 21. You must possess experience, skills, network, or influence in any of the 10 thematic areas outlined in the National Diaspora Policy. You must not have been bankrupt, declared bankrupt in Jamaica or the jurisdiction where you live, You must have demonstrated some reasonable level of management and leadership skills. You must have a willingness and an ability to commit time to discharge your responsibilities. And we even have in there that you must acknowledge that any false declaration of your eligibility makes your candidacy null and void. So these are we're not just seeking to say, minister can appoint anybody,
Right.
No, you must have either your location specific and you qualify with all of these criteria, or you are a subject area expert and you qualify for all of these criteria. So it's about getting more people involved, more skills at the table, more varied skills, as well as a wider outreach, more young people, more regions represented so that we can start to pull in our Middle East, Jamaica Middle East Diaspora Association, our Jamaica Association in China or Japan. I have met Jamaicans who are in different levels of organization, from Norway and Sweden to South Africa and Antigua, St. Kitts, Nevis. It is just incredible. The Prime Minister met with some in South Korea. It is incredible, the energy that they have and the desire that they have to connect. And I think the general atmosphere from the diaspora on this, the broad global reception has been so positive. When in China, we were in China for an official visit just last week.
Right.
And when we told them that we are doing this council and invited them to go and look out, they were thrilled. They were saying, finally, there's a way to connect. They can see their pathway into connect and to getting more information. And that I think felt really very reaffirming and re-energizing.
One thing I'd like for you to explain is
Sure.
the Jamaica, the Diaspora, the board, advisory board versus the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council.
Okay.
It was my understanding that one replaced the other, or are they working side by side? Explain.
No, well, the Diaspora Advisory Board is what is, and the Global Jamaica Council is what's going to exist in January to replace it. It will be the successor body to it. So the board has been working on ensuring that this council comes to fruition. It has been part of the endorsement process, taking it to conference, and agreeing the ways forward, making sure that election committees were established in the different regions so that there's independent, trusted, and credible persons who are overseeing the elections in the mature locations where they're taking place. And making sure that, the website has the issues that they would want addressed, the functionality, etc. So the board has been, in fact, was extended expressly at conference and in our meeting just before and after conference. Everybody on the board agreed that they were willing to sit for 6 additional months from after conference to transition into the council. So all of these last 6 months have been about getting the council in place. All of these last 5 months, we still have a couple weeks left.
Right.
6 weeks left.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're speaking to Senator the Honorable Kamina Johnson-Smith, Minister of Jamaica's Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. And we're talking about some developments within the diaspora. I'm sure you can hear the passion in her voice, the enthusiasm. And, it's because, like she said, you can't think of a country where a Jamaican is not. I often wondered, how do we still have so many back home for 2.5 million? But anyway, tell us about the upcoming elections. Are candidates known? Do we know who we're going to the polls for? Just break it down for us where we are with the upcoming elections and speak to the significance of everyone in the diaspora just participating in the process.
Okay, great. Well, the first thing to know is that the website, that's the order of the day, is globaljadiasporacouncil.com. globaljadiasporacouncil.com. On that website, you can register to vote, and when the candidates are now known, when they're finalized, their information will be on that website so that you can see who they are, you can read their bio, the names of the election committee members that are responsible for your region, that you can email them if you're having a question. They're on that website. If you live in a state or a region in the UK or a province in Canada and you're not sure what region you should be in order to register and vote, that information is on the website. And registration, which opened on October 25th, closes on November 17th. So on Sunday coming, registration will close. So it's important that you go on, click. It takes 2 minutes, literally. For persons who want more information about the process, terms of reference for the council, the eligibility criteria, all of those things. How can you become a candidate? All of that information is there, because for candidates have to have at least 5 persons in their region sign a form to say that they nominate them.
Yeah.
And they need to provide us with some information about their background, etc.
Okay.
And actually don't mean us. They actually need to provide it to the election committee, because it's the election committee that oversees that. It's the election committee that will sign off or, note that there is no registration is closed and we have a list of registrants. And then for the candidates, they will review to make sure that there is nobody there who does not appear on the face of it to comply with the eligibility criteria. So, if you provide a CV that doesn't provide any skill, any demonstration of management or leadership, or, if a quick Google search shows that you have, all kind of bankruptcy suits against your name or disciplinary proceedings by, any regulatory authority,
right,
or, shows that you're actually not resident where you're running, that those things would be problematic. And those are the only ways in which your candidacy would not become your nomination wouldn't become a candidacy. So because we're expanding, because we're reaching out more broadly, it was thought that, our processes really needed to be more aligned, more accountable, more transparent, more systematic, because many of these things were never written down before, Wayne. Never. Since 2004, when the board existed, the terms of reference were very sort of broadly written, and that's probably because it was starting and it was really people who knew each other who came together. And then as we expand, you need more processes, more documentation so people can look, read, understand, ask questions, and participate in an informed way. So again, registration closes on the 17th, as well as nominations for candidates. So I mean, I heard 2 people on the Diaspora show. Oh my goodness, I'm having a very senior moment. That's the length of my day. Durban Malcolm's program this afternoon.
Right.
He had 2 young gentlemen. One who says that he wants to run for south of the UK, and one who says he wants to run for south of the US. And they are fully energized and, submitting their candidacy. I imagine, I think one said he hadn't done it yet, but he was planning on, and that they're going out and getting people to register because, of course, if you're going to be a candidate, then strategically it would make sense for you to help encourage people to register so there's someone to vote for you, right?
That's right.
So they were speaking about their commitment to the diaspora, commitment to the process, and the fact that they are going through the process and have found it a good one so far. So we're looking forward to seeing how many more people come forward. And again, totally transparent. You don't have to know anybody to find out anything. Everything is on Global JA Diaspora council.com. And I have to say this is something I sort of personally believe in as a philosophy, that we have to move to a way where people don't need to know somebody to make a call. We live like that for too long.
Exactly.
Information must be available to everybody who wants it. You can interrogate it, you can test it, and you can participate from a position of information. And I think that's what's happening here.
And I can attest to how easy it is to register. I went on to register, and you're right. It didn't take more than about 2 minutes. In
fact, somebody called in on Durban's program and said they tried to register and they were getting a problem. And by the time somebody called them to find out exactly what the details were, he responded to say that it was already solved. He had just registered.
Yeah.
So it's working well.
And then there's an election period that's going to be between November 21st through December 15th.
15, right. Again, exactly. So there's a long period of time so people can really look at the candidates who come forward. They can, if they're at a busy time or they're not really focused on it, we're hoping that the time period is long enough that they can vote at their convenience. And the fact that it's online means that they don't have to take time off from work or anything like that. They can just vote, click, because once you register, you will receive an electronic ballot and you will use that to vote when that functionality on the website is enabled.
Wow, so much information. Folks in the diaspora, you're hearing all this. Please let us act on it. Let us make the process work for our diaspora. Let's get involved. There's often questions and maybe criticisms as well about the functionality and also the effectiveness of the diaspora and those who represent the diaspora. There's always questions about, how do we measure their impact? And with the repositioning that you've laid out now with the advisory board, becoming the council and, to dig deeper into diaspora affairs, it sounds like all that has been considered and moves are on the way to make the whole diaspora representation and the impact it can have both where we live and on the mainland, Jamaica, much more meaningful.
Yeah, that is the hope. That is the true, deep, and sincere intention. Because, we always talk about it all, harnessing the power and engaging more deeply, but how, right? You have to have more hands at the table to do the work. You have to have things outlined so people understand fully what they're getting into when they decide to run, when they decide to participate, when they decide to become a part of it. And we also need to allow people a greater opportunity to know what's going on and to know who might be the person who is a member for their region, etc. Because you find that some of that information is actually quite cloistered. It's quite in groups that if you know somebody who says to you or you know somebody, and that knowing somebody is an important part of the expansion, but being able to go beyond that so that you can actually reach out to connect because you have the desire, but you don't have the knowledge about how to. We're hoping to bridge that gap. We also feel very confident about the fact that when we have the policy in place so that we can build out the action plans with more perspectives around the table, that we will be able to move forward more effectively in how we engage and what are the actions, the priority actions that can be taken and implemented to ensure that we really have an effective working relationship between the diaspora and Jamaica.
Very, very, very well said. It is our Jamaica's Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade Senator, Senator the Honorable Kamina Johnson-Smith. Ladies and gentlemen, what a great conversation. Is there anything else you want to add before you go, Senator, in terms of any information or outreach, anything you want to add?
Thank you for that. Just two little things. One is to say that, for persons, I know sometimes there's this tension between people feeling like, oh, this is government control or whatever. I just want people to be assured that when they hear me talking or see my little video messages, etc., I'm really just trying to share information. We're trying to share information because we have a platform that allows for more visibility. But this election process, it's been documented, it's been vetted and approved by the sitting Diaspora Advisory Board that agreed specifically to stay on for 6 months in order to implement this process. And the elections are being run by election committees taken from the communities within which the diaspora lives. The other thing that I want to say is register to vote because that's how you vote. Register so that you can have a voice. It's kind of like being on the voters list. You can't decide the day before election that you want to vote if you did not get on the list. You have to register and then you can decide whether or not you want to when you look at the site. Remember, globalja-diasporacouncil.com has all the information you want. It will allow you to register. And it will allow you to send any questions you might have, although FAQs are there as well, so check those out. And I really just want everybody to get involved and feel the energy of the possibilities that lie ahead of us with this new institution that will come on board. So I want to thank you as well, Wayne, for having me on and giving me this great opportunity.
You're very welcome. It's wonderful information that you've shared with us in the diaspora. We are grateful for your time tonight, and I hope it just, motivates a lot more of us to reach out and get this information, be more proactive about what's happening in our diaspora instead of leaning back. And every time we hear of a summit or we hear something, we question what's going on. Let's be a part of it. Ladies and gentlemen, Let's lift it up. Let's support it. Go to www.globaljadiasporacouncil.com. That's where I went and found out a lot of the information and was able to actually have a conversation tonight. So you can be part of the conversation by just visiting and registering. Senator, the Honorable Kamina Johnson-Smith, thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
You
Thank
do
you
the
and your
same.
listeners.
All right.
Good night.
Good night.